The River Wild synopsis. Rafting expert Gale takes on a pair of armed killers while navigating a spectacularly wild river. Hey YouTube, welcome to my new movie review. It's good for you to see me. The River Wild came out in 1994. It's directed by Curtis Hanson, and the duration is 1 incredible hour and 51 minutes long. It's rated M, and it's an adventure, crime, thriller movie with a truly stellar cast of Meryl Streep as Gail Hartman, the brilliant Kevin Bacon as Wade, David Strathairn as Tom, Joseph Mazzello as Rourke Hartman, JohnC.Reilly as Terry, and a really small role by Benjamin Bratt as Ranger Johnny. Those of you who have been following me for any period of time, you know that I don't really talk about who writes a movie purely because the script of the movie changes all the time. But the story is so good for this movie, guys, that it's actually written by DenisO'Neill. Straight off the bat, guys, I need to say how much I love Rourke's voice in this movie. It is so incredibly rough yet innocent. This is easily one of my favorite movies ever when I was a little fella. Like, seriously, I actually genuinely, authentically cannot tell you. I couldn't even give you a ballpark figure of how many times I watched this movie when I was a kid. At all. I literally would not have a clue. I watched it so many times. This is one of those movies, guys, that the score really drives the narrative. It is so powerful. It is so incredibly powerful. The score for this movie just drives the movie constantly. It is absolutely brilliant. Now, one of the things that I loved about this character is the character Wade. I laughed a lot in this movie. In fact, multiple times in this movie that I watch this movie, I laugh every time I see it, even though it says in the thing that it's not a comedy. It's funny. There's some really funny elements to this movie, but man, talk about adventure. Now, I just want to talk about Wade's character for a second. The way that Wade is, his character is as a person, when you first meet him, this one of the things that I found so staggeringly just amazed at his character is that at first, when you see him in the start of the film, surprisingly, you actually really you like him. He's a cool guy. He's a really nice guy. There's so many, which is really funny, there's so many awkward moments, specifically between Meryl Streep's character and Kevin Bacon's character. And it's really interesting to see the dynamic. Like, it's so fascinating. There is literally lines in this movie that I remember in my teenage years I quoted so many times. Like, literally. This is one of those movies where the script is so incredibly rememberable that it just stained me. And just rewatching it, I actually sat down today with my wife for the first time, and this is the first time she's ever watched this movie, and she really enjoyed it. She really enjoyed it. And one of for those of you who have been following me for any period of time, I don't do spoilers because I just don't think that spoilers are fair in movie reviews. Because if you haven't seen it and you want to go and see it, and then I tell you all this stuff that happens in the movie, then it's the momentum of it is actually spoiled for you. So I steer clear of that, guys. But I just want to tell you, I won't tell you the lines in the movie, but I'll tell you when they happen. And basically, one of the moments that happens in the movie is actually the first time that Wade's character, Kevin Bacon's character, and his boat people meet Meryl Streep's family. Like, then they see them on the shore on the boat, and what Kevin Bacon yells out and what they respond to him every time I've ever seen this movie, guys, it cracks me up so bad. And it's actually such a funny line that they repeat it in a very similar context just later on in the movie, and it's just so well done. Like, it really, really, really is well done. And another part is after a fly fishing scene with Kevin Bacon and Meryl Streep, there's a sequence after that, and they're both in the boat, they're going down the river, and she responds something to her husband in a conversation, and it cracks me up every single time. It is so funny. As I said, the guy who plays Rourke in this movie, Joseph, who plays Rourke in this movie, Rourke's character. Now, for those of you who've seen this movie, you'll know he is like a massive. He's a very iconic face, and the reason why he's such an iconic face, if you didn't realize, it's because yes, that's right, he is the little boy in Jurassic Park. Yes, that's the same little boy in the River Wild as the little boy in Jurassic Park. The annoying little boy who gets the goggles on and all that sort of stuff. Yes, that's the same kid. How crazy is that? And now, obviously, he would be sitting on some serious coin after those movies. Well, especially Jurassic Park was such a massive success. Guys, this movie, those of you who've been following me for any period of time, one of the things that I love so wholeheartedly about movies is character chemistry. Because if you do not have powerful, incredible character chemistry with actors, then it just doesn't work. It is that simple. It just doesn't work. The character chemistry in this movie is so on point. I mean, and hence the reason I actually mentioned Denis O'Neill, his script, his story for this movie, because it's so well done. It had to be honorably mentioned because it was so incredible. Now, for anyone who's been following me for any period of time, you know the word that I'm about to drop. You guys know it already. I know so many of my viewers, so many of my subscribers who already know exactly what I'm about to say. Does this movie have, in my humble personal opinion, the core element, the DNA that makes film? To go back in years, days, months, hours time, literally, to go back, and those of you who've been following me for any period of time, you know what I'm about to say. Say it with me in 3, 2, 1, rewatchability. Rewatchability, guys, is one of those incredible things in film. It is so incredible in film that it's literally, you go back. This movie has rewatchability in spades. Now, I just want to give a massive, really quick shout out to the John Campea show. Now, I could not believe, it actually wasn't John Campea that said it. It was actually Robert Meyer Burnett who said it. I could not believe my ears. So I was watching the show the other day, and Robert Meyer Burnett used the word rewatchability. He actually said the word rewatchability, because that is cinema. That is film. It is movie. Movies that don't have rewatchability are those type of movies that when you go back, you don't want to rewatch them. In my personal humble opinion, and I'm just going to drop one name here, and it's just my opinion, guys. All film is subjective, but Joker, I'll never watch that movie ever again. I'll never watch it ever again. I walked out of that movie feeling like absolute crap. I was like, that's a bad movie. That's a bad movie. It doesn't have that factor that draws you back in, that grabs that audience, like The Shawshank Redemption. I remember watching that movie, and every time I've ever watched that movie, I just think to myself, I want to watch that again. It just has so much power in the character chemistry, the script, the music. It just flows, and especially the cinematography. Just brilliant. Absolutely stellar. This movie is completely a knockout of the park, guys. It is absolutely one of those movies that you just, if you haven't already, because I thoroughly, highly encourage you to treat yourselves to this absolute masterpiece. This movie is an absolute incredible feat of just cinematic brilliance. And one thing that I haven't even mentioned yet, and I'm glad I thought about that because it's so incredible at how powerful this element of the movie drives the characters, literally. And it's so simple, yet it is so effectively in the characters' workings of how they actually interact with each other. Not the bad guys, not the villains, but it's actually the family element of the movie. And it's actually an element that elevates them above the villain. And it's so simple. And it is one little tiny thing. You ready for it? Sign language. Yeah. Yes. Sign language. Now, Meryl Streep's parents, her father in this movie is deaf, right? It's not a spoiler. He's deaf. And that's why that element of the movie for the family is so powerful. And the sign language plays the most powerful element in this movie, like for real, as well as the score, the character chemistry, the cinematography, all that sort of stuff. And speaking of character chemistry, guys, I actually want to talk to you really quickly about Meryl Streep, and I'm actually going to tell you about a bit in the trivia about it. Something happened to Meryl Streep in this movie that was so crazy that it's actually looking back at her career now at how, massive and just dynamic she is as an actor, that she was actually put in a certain position. Now, yes, they did use stunt doubles in this movie, and I was actually just thinking about it before I did this review. I was thinking about, now that I've seen so many movies and I'm so aware watching movies now, I don't ever look out for when they use stunt doubles, but when I do spot it, to me it's so clear now. It's like, oh, okay, there's the stunt double. I only saw it once in this movie, and I think that is absolutely incredible, because if you really think about it, seeing it, even a glimpse of it, or noticing, oh, okay, no, that's definitely a stunt double, because of the fact that the camera was so far away, you could just tell that it wasn't the real actors. But knowing that, and knowing that there's highly possibly even multiple times in this movie that they use more stunt doubles throughout this movie, and the fact that I only picked it up once, that's pretty good. Seriously. And I wasn't looking for it, as I said. I just picked it up because I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty obvious, because the scene was so far back. And not only that, back then they didn't have the ability in CGI to be able to face map. They couldn't put somebody else's face. Well, if they did, they definitely didn't use it on this scene, because it's just not worth it. So for anyone who's been following me for any period of time, guys, you guys know that I love giving you trivia, because in my personal opinion, trivia is so much fun, and it is like icing on a cake. And who doesn't love cake? Oh, I love cake so much. So it's trivia time. An exhausted Meryl Streep balked when director Curtis Hanson asked her to shoot one more scene before finished scene before the end of the day. However, she had decided to attempt it. Swept off the raft, she was in real danger of drowning before she was rescued, returning upriver. She told a pale and handshaking Hanson, when I say in the future, when I say I can't do something, I think we should believe me. Hanson hastily agreed. Next piece of trivia is, guys, Meryl Streep did most of her own stunts in this movie. Next piece of trivia is, guys, Carrie Fisher was an uncredited script doctor on the film. Next piece of trivia is, guys, when Gale is skull on the Charles River, it's dark. 2 minutes later, it's getting brighter. Next piece and final piece of trivia, guys, and I'll leave you with this, is Kevin Bacon and David Strathairn also appeared in Enormous Change at the last minute, 1983. Thank you so much, guys. Seriously, I value you being here. What did you think, guys? What did you think of the River Wild? Have you even heard of it? Is this the first time you've ever heard of the River Wild? Leave your comments in the comment section below. And while you're in the comment section below, if you haven't already, please go ahead and be so kind and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really value that, guys. I really do. Speaking of value, leave a thumbs up on my movie review, guys. And while you're leaving a thumbs up, guys, don't forget to click that bell for notifications. That way, when I drop anything, it'll be yours on your mobile device. And you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. What did you guys think of The River Wild? I appreciate your feedback. Thanks for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks for liking this movie review. I really value it. And until my next movie review, don't forget, guys, who's bringing this movie review for The River Wild. This is Superman Steve, guys. Flying out!